What's going on, everyone? Yeah, you're normally used to seeing the beard. No beard today. I'm working on a little bit of facial hair for you, but this is yet another edition of Wrestling Warm-Up. My name is John Alba, the Moon Man, and the interim general manager of Wrestling Warm-Up, and I am joined by an esteemed panel today that we want you to be a part of. All you got to do, click the link in the article that we provided for you. I even highlighted it and hyperlinked it. It says click here. All you need is headphones, webcam, microphone. You're good. Today we're joined by the Canadian himself, Christopher Walder.
I am Canadian, but I got the Swiss. I'm busting out the Swiss today. I got the Swiss jersey, got the Swiss
Are you
logo,
going to do the Cesaro fist thing?
the
There you
cannons
go.
or whatever that is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm here to talk wrestling.
I have no idea what that is. We got Patrick. What's up, dude?
What's going on, John?
We got Warhood himself, who you guys can't see. Warhood.
Hello. I'm sorry. I literally just walked in my room.
It's okay, man. You sound like you just woke up, too.
I just got off I got off the train from Penn Station.
Okay. Look, as someone who commuted to Penn Station every single day last summer, I do not envy you. That is for sure.
We
But
know
anywho,
each other's pains.
It's bad, man. It's real bad, but we're not here to talk about travel issues. We're here instead to talk about Monday Night Raw, which you normally, as I mentioned, are used to seeing Doug O'Mac here as Ed Call joins us. Ed, what's going on?
How's it going today, guys?
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Now, you're normally used to seeing Doug O'Mac here, but he's at Raw, and it's in Greenville, South Carolina. So Doug is down there with his family and friends, and make sure you look for the at Doug O'Mac sign tonight on Monday Night Raw. And let's talk about Monday Night Raw here. Historically, the episodes in Greenville usually don't have the best crowds ever, and I want to start with a topic that was hot coming out of last week, and that was Adam Rose. And people were complaining about Adam Rose, saying that his debut didn't come off as good on TV because the crowd wasn't really into it. Well, Greenville doesn't have a very good crowd, guys. Do you think they debuted Adam Rose at the wrong time? Let's start with Walder.
Yeah, they absolutely debuted him at the wrong time, and I think they probably debuted him at the wrong time on the show, period. Because if they had debuted him in the first hour, I think you would have had a little more lively a reaction, because I think with Raw being as lethargic as it would have been wise to have him as soon as possible so the crowd had more energy, but that wasn't the case. And I read an article from our friend Justin LeBar at WrestleZone. He talked about Adam Rose, and he said that it would have been wise that the WWE debuted him on the European tour, because we know how crazy the European crowds can get, and they would have eaten up Adam Rose's entrances. They would have, hummed his song like some people were doing last week. But yeah, I think a lot of the momentum of Adam Rose now is kind of at a standstill. I think I still have hope. I mean, I talked about this on my latest Wrestling Rumors radio piece. I still think the jury is out. There's a lot more they can do, but yeah, not the best start.
Yeah, it was very weird, and I mean, Michael Cole was really trying to sell it. He really was, and I think that people are willing to get into it, and I think people are going to want to invest in the character. Just not sure if this was the right place to debut him. You said LeBar mentioned Europe, and Europe, yes, definitely would have been a good place. What if you held him off till Payback? Truth be told, there was not a need to debut a character so immediately. Ed, what do you think?
I honestly, I don't have a problem with the Adam Rose debut, but yeah, as Chris said, I would have rather seen him earlier in the show. We saw a lot of just very empty booking for that night. I'm not sure about throwing him into the European tour for a debut, because he is going to have to be in America, and they're going to have to test the American markets to see just how popular he could be. So I would have rather have him debut here first, but maybe in a better wrestling city. But to be honest with you, it's going to be an acquired taste, because he's going to be one of those definite mid-card characters that will stay for a while. So you got to get him through these doldrum kind of audiences.
Yeah, it's going to be a real risk that they're taking with Adam Rose. Patrick, your thoughts?
I think timing-wise, as far as the calendar year goes, I think it was the wrong time, because you just had, Lana and Rusev come up from NXT, and I think they're just trying to do too much right now. I mean, we also have to, Bo leave, sooner rather than later, I think. And granted, like the Shield came up a while ago when it was three guys, but it was like one faction. It was like all of them coming in at once. But I think three separate characters coming up with, Lana and Rusev with, Bo Dallas coming back in his new package character, and now, Adam Rose, I think it's just too much.
All right, he thinks it's too much. We're joined now by Willie Sintra. And Willie, we're talking Adam Rose. Do you have any thoughts on his debut last week?
Well, I have to agree that it probably would have been better in Europe, but that theme song, how catchy is that?
That's super catchy, no doubt about that. It's super, super catchy, and that's a good thing, because a theme, as we've talked about in the past on the show, can help a superstar get over. It was almost working for Fandango, and then actually about a year ago exactly, he suffered a concussion, and that really cost him in the end. Warhood, you got any thoughts on this?
I think like everyone said, I think the panel is unanimous that he should not have debuted last week. I would actually take it one step farther, and I would say you don't air him this week on Raw because of the background.
Even after he debuted already?
No.
I mean, because you're gonna get another dead crowd.
Yeah, but you got to keep the character. You can't just debut him and then take him off television.
Well, I'm not saying take him off television, like mention him and obviously keep him there, but you can't. If he comes out again, it's gonna be a dead crowd, and then it's gonna get to a point where they lose. He's gonna lose the entrance. The people coming to his entrance.
Yeah.
I just worry that if he just has too many of those dead entrances in a row, it's gonna adversely affect his whole push. When the character is interesting, it's something new.
Well, maybe you don't have to have him out today, even though I think you do, but maybe you could have him backstage, but he has to be seen. I think he needs to be more than mentioned. What do you guys think of the pairing with Jack Swagger? I'll leave this up to anyone who wants to talk here.
It's not the worst pairing. I mean, Swagger's been great at getting a lot of different kind of characters over. Zeb is fantastic on the mic, and it fits perfectly into the deportation bit. I frankly think that this is going to be great for him to get over with, and, it's not like Swagger's really up to much. And it could be a good way to see a guy like Jack getting over some younger talent, and definitely setting up a great independent, great booking for the mid-card titles.
I personally would have rather seen somebody else in this spot. I mean, I can understand from the WWE's perspective, because I think the interactions between Zeb Coulter especially and Adam Rose could make for some entertaining television. But I think there's still a lot more they could do with Swagger and this whole real American gimmick. And they were teasing on Twitter that there might be a new member to replace Cesaro. But now you have Swagger lose as the first man eliminated at Extreme Rules, and now he's certainly not going to defeat Adam Rose, which looks like they're going to have a match at Payback. So I think Swagger's kind of on the downslide, but I really wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I'm with you entirely. I wish that wasn't the case either. But, I mean, we know we're going to get a good match out of it. I'm curious to see how they're going to integrate Rose's background. Obviously, the man himself is actually from South Africa. So it's going to be interesting to see if they try to pass him off as British, if they try to pass him off as Australian, because to the casual viewer, they may have zero connection to this partier from South Africa. So it'll be interesting to see which route they go with that. Don't forget, guys, you're watching Wrestling Warm Up here on WrestlingRumors.net. My name's John Alba, filling in for our full-time host, Doug O'Mac, who's at Monday Night Raw tonight. If you guys want to get involved, like all these fine gentlemen who are with me today, all you have to do is click the link that you saw in the article that we posted. It says, click here. Join us. Come on. Let's talk some wrestling. If you want to grab a beer, by all means, I encourage you to do so. Drink your beer, drink your bottle, whatever. So anyway, let's keep going. I don't know what Chris has got, but Chris, go ahead. Show everyone what you got there again.
I have Windex.
Got some Windex. It's like my big fat Greek wedding. It's like my big fat Greek wedding.
You realize that would get you really sick if you drank that.
Thanks for making that clear, John.
I think he does.
I'm sorry.
realize
I
that.
just finished mine.
Anywho, let's keep moving through the card here and seeing what we got in front of us. Leading off the 5-point preview today, my friends, John Cena, Bray Wyatt, the Wyatt family, the Usos. They continue to talk about involvement on all ends here. And a 5-point preview really made a point to highlight what the Wyatts said on Friday Night SmackDown, warning to John Cena where they said, where we're going, nobody ever comes back. Guys, what does this mean? I'll throw this out to anyone who wants to start.
Oh, well, I'll say.
We got Patrick. Go ahead, Patrick.
And probably more kids singing with goat faces.
Walter.
Well, we talked about this a little bit before the show. You mentioned the fact that this could possibly lead to a Hell in a Cell match at Payback, and I disagreed with you right away just because I felt like we just had a steel cage match at Extreme Rules, and I felt like having 2 matches inside of a steel structure wouldn't make sense, but it could happen for all I know. But I think the way this feud ends, I don't really see it going past Payback. I mean, we did report at WrestlingRumors.net that it could lead into SummerSlam, which I think is a really long time for this. I think what Bray was implying, I think we're going to get an I Quit match at Payback, and like what he said, where we're going, there's no turning back. I think the way that Wyatt really defeats Cena in the grand scheme of things is by making him say 2 words that he's never said before. I quit.
It would be interesting, and I suggested Hell in a Cell only because of the context of those words. I think it would be a weird timing for a Hell in a Cell match, especially given that's after WrestleMania and Hell in a Cell, the actual pay-per-view, is down the line. So I'd be a little surprised in that regard if they actually did that. Now, with that being said, though, an I Quit match would insinuate an ending to the feud, would it not?
Yes, which I'm all for.
Yes.
Yeah, but now let's assume that they do want to drag this to SummerSlam. Now, let's say they do drag this to SummerSlam. That has to be, if I'm not mistaken, one of the longest programs we've had in WWE in probably about 15 years. No? It has to be at least.
Well, are you?
I mean, if you want to think about Cena Orton.
I mean, you can mention Cena Orton, but I mean this goes from February through August.
Even Orton Christian was pretty long too.
Yeah, but I don't think it was that long though. I mean, that was a summer program. But,
it spanned 4 pay-per-views.
Yeah, well, this could go 5 or 6.
For this type of time, it is. It's
Yeah.
not normally seen.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. Do you like what we got on Raw last week with Bray Wyatt and John Cena?
Didn't really do much. I mean, it's hard to really try to ramp up support. And, you know, if they really are trying to look to SummerSlam, it's going to be hard to maintain support for this kind of a feud, especially no titles. And it's such unique sort of promo work. But it has to lead to some sort of end. And when you get these sort of doldrum Raws, you know, we're going to have to figure out a way to sort of amp this up. We're already involving children, a lot of props involved between these 2 guys. There's got to be some sort of end that's probably going to come a lot sooner.
I like the inclusion of the Usos because the Usos will add another dynamic to this feud. And when you have these longer programs, you need different dynamics. We're joined by Jason South. Jason, do you have any insight that you'd like to provide on this?
I think he's muted.
Okay, I think he's muted. Well, you can unmute your mic at any point. But Willie, anyone who would like to give some more insight on this?
I was thinking about the remember the way Wyatt came in with the Ring of Fire match.
Mm-hmm.
That ultimately in this feud with Cena and Wyatt.
Well, here's the thing about that. I think the reason that happened in the first place was because it was with Kane. And I like what you're thinking. And the other part about it, though, is that the match didn't really go over as well as they kind of hoped that it would have. I think we can all agree on that. It was not a great match. And you had 2 very good workers in Kane and Bray Wyatt, and it really just did not go over all that well. You know, you had the Inferno match in the past where someone was guaranteed to get lit on fire, which, as God, you know, we are so screwed up as human beings to want to root for someone to get lit on fire. But it's true, though. That was one of the elements. I don't know where you can go with this. I suggested Hell in a Cell only because that's what I thought the words kind of alluded to. But, hey, maybe we see a brand new type of match.
Where is Payback being held this year?
Payback's in Chicago again.
Huh. I'm trying to think of if they really want to try to stretch this out, some sort of environmental thing with, you know, maybe putting it in some sort of an area that's like Bray territory, like some sort of a backwoods brawl or something like that. I mean, it's hokey.
That sounds a little WCW-esque.
It is. It reminds me of the Graveyard match, but you got to stretch it out. If you're trying to think outside the box and you're involving children, you know.
Hey, if they really want to go outside the box, they could always do a lumberjack match with all the children ringside.
Oh, man. Willie, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, you got to think about it's going to be in Chicago. I'm sure they're going to get some chance for Punk. Why not take it outside, like you said? Have an Chicago brawl or whatever, street brawl.
A Chicago street fight?
But
Yeah,
did
you
they
can
do that?
silence some of those chants, you know.
They did that last year with Punk and Jericho
They
for
did.
the title.
They did that last year.
But Punk
That
was from Chicago, though.
No,
so.
that the street fight was actually that was Extreme Rules 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Oh, yeah.
that was
Yeah,
that was
that's
not
right.
Payback.
Now-
That's right.
I'm sorry, but we said, and I don't know what the rumor is anymore because I've been so focused on finals. But the idea for Kane, Daniel Bryan, when I last looked up, was the Buried Alive match.
Yeah.
Would that could be what he was insinuating as well if Daniel Bryan, if they were to go that route and go Bray Wyatt, John Cena in a Buried Alive match. Because there is no coming back technically after you're buried.
Well, here's the worry with Buried Alive matches. For me, Buried Alive matches are completely related to the gimmick. So neither of their gimmicks have any association with that. Now, it could make sense in terms of the context of the statement that was made, but, like, where is that related to Bray Wyatt? Like, it's related to Kane, but where
And
is
those
that related?
matches, and those matches are also used to write characters off of television for
Correct.
months at a time. So
True.
You're not coming back from a Buried Alive match. And you know they're not throwing Cena off television, and they're certainly not throwing Bray Wyatt off television.
Could
So-
this go 3 stages of hell like it did last year between Cena and Ryback?
3 stages of hell is a possibility, and that alludes to hell too. I mentioned where we're going, where there's no coming back. That too, and I'm kind of okay with that, but you start repeating ideas then. And go ahead.
The reason I support the reason I would think Hell in a Cell is because they were already sort of leaving breadcrumbs with the way that the ending came with the last period of
Yes,
Extreme Rules.
I agree.
Guys in the cage, trying to get in the cage. That's the only reason you would support an idea like that, to sort of basically transition from Payback into later in the summer.
I do agree with that, and I think that's another reason why I thought that too. But I mean, it's just weird because Cena Wyatt's. I don't know. I mean, I'll throw this out there. Do you guys think Cena Wyatt could be the main event of Payback? Especially
No.
after the report
No.
today.
no.
Hold on here. Especially after the report today that, Walter, you yourself wrote up, that they only see Daniel Bryan as the number 2 guy.
Well, if that was
As long as Triple H is wrestling, he's going to be in the main event somehow.
He wasn't in the main
That
event.
wasn't in the
last-
Extreme
at-
Rules,
at
yeah.
Extreme Rules.
Extreme Rules.
True.
Not even WrestleMania.
look, if Daniel Bryan and Kane have a Buried Alive match, which all signs are
If
pointing
it's-
to,
Yes,
that's the
I
main
agree.
event.
I agree. If it is a Buried Alive match, that is the main event. But if it's not, who knows? I mean, let's transition now from Bray Wyatt into Kane and Daniel Bryan. Guys, this was just a awful segment last week. Really bad. And as the guy who was on Raw coverage last week, it was painful for me to even watch, just to type out my reaction to. I mean, the acting was so bad on behalf of Daniel Bryan and Brie Bella. And Kane, God mighty, he falls off the car and just thud. My God.
That was loud.
Such a perfect death position, too.
Peter Griffin, where the arm goes behind the back and the leg is sideways. But man, it was a really bad segment. And Mick Foley, who knows a thing or two about booking, took to his blog after and said, "This worries me a little bit. This reminds me of what they did with Zack Ryder." And that ruined Zack Ryder's career. Now, Daniel Bryan is a million times more over than even Zack Ryder was at his peak. But let me ask you this. Where do you go with this now after that atrocity that was last week?
They're going to go back to it
Get
again.
it over with.
Yeah.
Can I just make this statement that I was with a friend who, by the way, used to be an avid wrestling fan. His mother outlawed him watching wrestling. And it was his first time watching wrestling in like 7 years. He saw that scene and turned to me and went, "What happened in wrestling? That woman needs to be fined, suspended, and sent back to acting school."
Oh,
If I am the WWE right now, and I understand the point, there is no point to have whatever Bella that is, and I can never remember the
Brie.
name.
That's
Brie.
Brie.
It's Brie.
Platform.
Brie with them anymore, and I would take her as far as away from that again, because that was unacceptable.
I mean, I want to make it clear, Bryan was just as bad in that segment.
Well, yes, but I'm sorry. When her screaming and like cat fight slapping at Kane's wrist was awful, and I was dying. I nearly turned the channel.
The
Well,
worst was, to be fair, the worst was AJ's pipe bomb promo that she did, and Brie and Nikki and even Maria just going, "Say it to her face! Say it to her face!"
Like, what's stopping you from walking up there?
That was just as bad as this. Who wanted to make a point?
Yeah, just quickly. I noticed on Twitter, a lot of people were mentioning the fact that how dare the WWE make Daniel Bryan look like such a wuss because he just beat all 3 members of Evolution at WrestleMania, and now he's going up against a guy who just 3 weeks ago was dressing up in a pair of slacks and a wife beater to wrestle. But here's the thing. Brie Bella has completely tarnished Daniel Bryan's reputation, especially at the moment. Daniel Bryan doesn't look like a wuss. He's not afraid of Kane. The only
That's
reason he's doing all of
exactly
these
it.
things is because he's protecting his wife, which he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
But then again, Brie Bella has no business being anywhere near this storyline. I think
Well-
Daniel Bryan and Kane could pull it off just
Thank
based
you.
off of their past together as team. Hell no, you can't work off of that.
Well, here's what they need to do. They need to get Stephanie more into the equation now. Now we need to start seeing where Stephanie is connected to this. Because I totally agree with you, Chris, where that is what Brie was being used for. Daniel was not afraid of Kane. He was afraid of protecting his wife. I get that. Here's the bottom line. People aren't connected to Brie Bella emotionally. It's not like a Miss Elizabeth thing where the crowd was invested in Miss Elizabeth and what happened to her. It's not the case here. Okay? You need to find a way, as Stephanie McMahon lurks in the background, to get her more incorporated into this rather than just saying, "Oh, Daniel, I'm trolling you," and acting like I have no idea what's going on. Okay? That needs to not
She
happen.
does me proud. She does
Let
me
me
proud.
let me ask you this, because the first time we ever really saw Brie Bella, like, you know, since WrestleMania, associated with Bryan, was when his father died, and he came out to the ring and he started doing the yes chants, and his wife was right by his side. If that wasn't the case, if Bryan's father didn't pass away, would Brie be involved in this storyline?
They already alluded to her being engaged to him back in the fall, so
Well, no,
I mean,
they
that is
did nothing to hide. Look, they're exploiting the wedding for Total Divas, but
Yeah.
I think she would have been. I do. I mean, here's the thing, Chris, that we haven't mentioned is that supposedly the plan was to do Batista Bryan at Payback, and they kind of had to pull an audible on that. So, even though I don't buy the actual reasoning for that, they supposedly pull an audible. So, like we've seen in WWE so much, short-term booking, they're booking on the fly, and that could kill a guy's momentum. So I think they're just seeing, oh well, here's Brie, let's just keep her related. I want to see as little Brie as possible tonight.
Just never involve your wife in storylines, because if we knew anything from Stone Cold Steve Austin and Deborah, it doesn't end up very good.
I'm
If we
actually.
know anything from Kevin Sullivan and Chris Benoit and Nancy Benoit.
Yeesh.
There you go, even a better example.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
Whoa.
I'm actually reminded. It was funny. I remember this one tweet I read when I caught up on Raw last week, and it's someone. It was Langdon Alder, a guy I follow, keep it 5-star. He said that someone had to have looked at this script and said, and I quote, "This is stupid." And I'm thinking to myself, I've heard about so many rewrites that Raw had on the fly right before the show. How is someone not looking at this and just thinking, okay, I understand the Evolution Shield thing is already there, Cena and Wyatt, but how far down the totem pole is there consideration for just weekly writing for this, just to make any sense or try to capture people's attention in the right way, I should say?
To be fair, that there could like the acting was horrible, but that could have worked and like legitimate like horror-esque fashion, and they
Ugh.
just failed to execute it on every basic level.
Maybe if this was the Attitude Era, that would have worked, but I think we have a
You
lot
know
more
what?
smarter fans.
We do, and it was very over the top. I hated, and this totally took me out of it, the camera that was in the back of the car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The cameraman's just sitting there in
It's
the
not
car.
necessary.
It just totally took me out of it. And then the generic shot of Kane just popping up in the back of the car. It was So
That kind of reminded me of back in the day. Remember when Mr. Kennedy, excuse me, and Undertaker had their feud, and they had like that last rights match, and they had some build up where they would actually Kennedy would get into a limo, and there would be a camera on the rear view mirror taking a look at the back seat, and then Undertaker would just randomly pop up, and I'm like, okay, like yeah, that's really relevant for this, and it's that wasn't planned at all.
WrestleMania 22 the other day, and it was the Boogeyman Booker T match, and Booker's looking at himself in the mirror, washing his face, and the Boogeyman just shows up in the corner of the mirror. Then he looks back and he's gone. It's just like
we just saw that with Wyatt and Cena too, right?
And they did.
Mask. Cena and
Yes,
Sheamus.
that did happen. Exactly. We're joined by Jazz. Jazz, what's going on? Do you have any thoughts on this Daniel Bryan Kane booking?
Like you said, they need to get Brie away from there as soon as possible because her acting last week was atrocious.
Can you do better, Jazz?
Well,
You want to give us your best scream right now?
no, I cannot do that scream to save my life. I can't do that bad.
Oh my God, mighty.
It crossed from
Sounds like Skinamax.
it crossed from like suspended animation, like suspended reality, to like bad, to really bad, to so bad it's funny. That's how bad that segment was. In my mind, it was so bad it was laughable. Everything from
That's not what you want to do with your WWE champion.
But that's not that. Yeah, that's the problem. That would have been like a hilarious scene if you had Santino Marella and Emma do it. Like, because that's what they are. They're comedy.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think Emma could have probably pulled that off better than.
Yeah.
I'd hate to see that though.
I would. There would be no point. It would be awful. But
I think it just goes to show that, all the changes on the scripts on like the last second, and how we read about in some reports how Shawn Michaels said that the Undertaker decision was made just hours before. I mean, look at how quick and poorly executed that Kane scene was. I mean, I think that Boogeyman Booker T thing was probably thought about.
Yeah.
Was not thought about.
The sad part is Bryan had a hell of a match right before that.
yeah.
Oh, fantastic ending.
He really had a very good match, and his psychology, where showing that he was kind of spooked out by what was going on with Brie and Kane, it showed in the ring, and it was very unique how they did that. So I thought that was very cool. But yeah, this was bad, and tonight you got to make your champion look decent. What's interesting is, for as much as Kane has done, he hasn't gotten the upper hand on Bryan ever since he tombstoned him to hell 3 times.
That's
So
true.
do you give Kane the upper hand tonight?
Don't you think he would have had the upper hand last week? Though? I thought I would have considered that an upper hand just in his head.
Kane fell off a car!
Yeah, but
Cunt!
the
And
idea that he's still there and still in their heads, I mean, I would have given the point to him.
I think one of the biggest problems with this feud is, especially amongst the smart IWC fans, is that we can't take this feud seriously from the get-go because we know in our heart of hearts there is absolutely no way Kane is going to go over on any special event. He's not winning the WWE Championship. If this was, a Batista or a Triple H, we would have in the back of our heads, you know what, maybe those are the guys that are going to remove the belt from Bryan. But in Kane's case, absolutely not.
Right.
But we didn't see Lesnar beating Undertaker, so who knows?
Right, but this is entirely different.
You're talking
Kane
about
is
your
not,
championship, too, yeah.
yeah.
this
True.
is also Kane, who's going to be running for president. Running for not president, senator.
Hey,
Senator.
He's also
You know?
promoting a movie, too.
Yeah,
And a
exactly.
movie.
All the more
Yeah.
reason for the Buried Alive match. That writes him off TV for a couple of months so he can do promotion.
That's
Yeah.
actually.
You think we go through one more week of trying to stomach another drama, or do you think that
Maybe.
they
We
the match in tonight?
need to see Stephanie McMahon get more involved in this. We need to see what her involvement is so we can
Her and her
start
heavy
making
hands.
actual progress with this. Otherwise we're in trouble here. Let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go over to the mid-card now. And last week we saw Sheamus win the United States Championship. He defeated Dean Ambrose on SmackDown. You like putting the belt on Sheamus, guys? Let's start with Willie here. Do you like it?
What else are you gonna do? I mean, they weren't going to do anything with Ambrose, and he held it forever. And who else? What else are you going to do with it?
Well, where do you go with Sheamus' booking from here, guys? Do you make that heel turn with him? I mean, we saw last week there was a report that said that Sheamus is still going to be billed as one of the top baby faces, but to me, putting that title on him, you have a chance to add a new aspect to that character. Make him stuck up, make him be aggressive. Now, to be fair, the last time he held the U.S. Championship was a piss poor run with it. So, I mean, what do you think, Walter?
He's definitely turning heel, because when you look at the heel roster right now, Batista's going to be leaving to do promotion for Guardians of the Galaxy. For all intents and purposes, Kane's going to lose at Payback, and he's going to be written off TV as well. Triple H is not a full-time competitor. The Wyatt family are basically tweeners at this point because they get such a face reaction from the crowd. All you really have left is Randy Orton. So, and we've heard rumors that, maybe Sheamus is going to join Evolution, which I'm not really 100%
I'll tell you what.
behind.
I'll get back to you, Walter. I would like that you brought that up. I lost it when I found out that report came out, because I think that would be so incredibly badass. Have Sheamus come out in the beret and the sweater vest. I mean, he's Triple H's protege, basically. He even teased it on Twitter this past week. I think it would be awesome. Go ahead, Walter. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm indifferent on Sheamus joining Evolution, because I think Evolution, their purpose originally back in the day was to build young stars. So I'd rather see someone else in that role. But like you said, it makes sense because of Sheamus's relationship with Triple H. But yeah, right now there needs to be more serious main event level heels, and I think the United States Championship is basically a prop at this point to say, well, is Sheamus going to be the one to make it? Well,
if you put
Ambrose
it with
wasn't
a big
the guy.
name, if you put it with a big name, and Sheamus, whether you like him or not, is a big name, does that add credibility to it?
Well, Ambrose was a big name. He's in one of the top factions in the company right now.
Sheamus is a former two-time WWE champion, a former
look where he's been. Look where he's been over the last year or so. He hasn't been in that main event level spot.
No, but
so
he still has that to his name, and he has a big victory. He has wins over Triple H in the past. I mean, this is still, a legitimate main eventer here.
People's memories fade away fast.
Dean Ambrose has not main evented solo yet. So, I don't know. Anybody else thoughts on that?
I like it for two reasons. One, which we probably will eventually get to later, which is I think this opens up the fact that now the title changed, another title changed hands. It's looking more and more like Cesaro is going to get Money in the Bank, to me, that's completely. I think that looks like that way, and the same with you, John. I like the idea of adding Sheamus after Batista leaves to Evolution and having him fill that role of Batista in Evolution.
So who do you guys have challenge Sheamus? Because now it's all up in arms. Ambrose lost his rematch for the title on SmackDown. Who do you guys have challenge Sheamus going into Payback?
Maybe Big E?
Sandow, maybe.
Oh, you need...
I think Rusev. You need to do something with Rusev at this point. I mean, you can't keep feeding him jobbers because you're just going to follow down the same path as Ryback, and that didn't end up very well.
The 5-point preview did say who's going to step up and be Rusev's next challenge. Now, Rusev's an option. JR brought up a good point last week. He said he loves Rusev, he loves what they're doing with him, but he doesn't think he's over enough yet to be put in a title feud.
I agree.
And I don't think... Yeah, sorry?
I'm just thinking, so you're going to say you're going to have Rusev versus Sheamus. And I'm assuming that you then have Sheamus going over because he just got the title at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Like, if you're going to have Rusev challenge Sheamus, you have to put him over. But then again, you just had Sheamus win the belt. So that, in retrospect, you'd think, okay, the only reason they put the title on Sheamus is so he could drop it to Rusev, because you can't get away with Ambrose versus Rusev on a pay-per-view.
Absolutely, not yet, at least.
And that's why I put in Sandow in there. He's a yeoman jobber essentially. So and he'll do a great job of putting him over on promos. So why not just get him over into Money in the Bank at least?
Yeah.
Why not Ziggler?
Why not Ziggler? Ziggler's an option, but it's interesting because if you put Ziggler, you start thinking here, okay, maybe face, but maybe Sheamus isn't a face.
Besides, Alba, let me throw this at you real quick. What about the idea? If we're thinking about turning Sheamus heel, how long do you think until we start to see that turn? What do you think timeline?
If you're gonna turn Sheamus heel and push him as a main event level heel, or at least a high mid card heel, that has to take you into the summer.
Okay.
In my opinion, at least, because keep in mind we got 2 pay-per-views in June.
Okay.
And I think that's where you do it. I mean, does anyone disagree with me on that?
If
Yeah,
Sheamus
I would
turns
say
heel,
we're on Money in the Bank.
yeah, if Sheamus turns heel, it has to be either the night after or 1 week after Batista leaves.
Yeah.
I would have actually said in my head, I would have rather seen Sheamus still try to get over it, sort of the way Christian did when he was world champion, sort of try to get over with the fans, but then when he loses it, when he gets one big loss, he still tries to get over, but ends up turning heel because the fans aren't accepting him anymore. Maybe someone like a Ziggler or someone with a good dynamic personality as a face
I'll tell you what.
pushes him in.
I think that's a fair point, Ed. And it's interesting because I've actually really liked Sheamus's work since he returned from injury. I think he's been a little more passionate and not as much as happy-go-lucky as he was, per se, when he left. Interesting to see what they're going to do with Sheamus. Continuing on with the mid-card, they continue to tease dissension between the Brotherhood, Goldust, and Cody Rhodes. Do you guys think we're getting this match at Payback, or do you think it's a little more down the line?
Down the line for sure.
There's 3 weeks until
I'd like to see it
Payback,
as a
so they can start
qualifier,
something
potentially for
tonight.
Money in the Bank.
Ed says Money in the Bank.
Well, no, John. I was going to say I'd like to see it happen on Raw as a Money in the Bank qualifier. Maybe get Rhodes into Money in the Bank, be it by beating his brother, and he ends up doing more damage to complete a heel turn.
See, the problem with this feud in general is that
they half-assed it?
It's that it should have happened months and months ago. We were talking about this as a WrestleMania match, and now that Cody Rhodes and Goldust, who have fallen so off the spectrum, it's not even funny. Like these guys, they were 2 of the most over characters in the company when they beat the Shield, and they had they had the celebratory thing with Dusty Rhodes and the entire roster. But now it's like they're not even on anyone's radar anymore. So if Cody Rhodes turns heel or Goldust turns heel, does anyone really care?
No.
And it. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree. It's gonna be an opening pre-show match probably.
It's a shame. It's a real shame because the feud booked itself. It really did. It booked itself, and these 2 could have been so passionate about it. And now you're just going to get it. Do you guys like Cody being the heel?
I love it.
It's hard to boo Goldust. I mean, he's the cartoony guy, right?
Yeah.
Goldust was a massive heel back in his day.
Yeah, he was legit. But then again, that's also like the Attitude Era. I don't think Goldust could get over really as a heel in a PG-14 or PG era. Just from looking at like watching the network and seeing how he got over as a heel.
I guess it just upsets me because I was at Money in the Bank last year. You guys all saw, especially at Battleground, Cody. The fans love Cody Rhodes. They do. And when he's all red hot, he's great. And you mentioned Cesaro as a Money in the Bank candidate. I think Cody is one too. I still think Cesaro is much more so. I think Cesaro is much more so than Cody is. But look, these guys come out of nowhere. I mean, Ziggler was getting crap treatment before he won Money in the Bank, and then he still got crap treatment after he won Money in the Bank. So it really could come out of nowhere. And who would have thought Sandow last year? So
Sorry. I just think 3 or 4 years down the road, we're going to look back at Cody Rhodes and we're going to have him in the same boat as someone like Kofi Kingston.
I agree.
Someone who was given chances, not a lot of chances, but they were given some main event chances, and they just never really lived up to their potential. And I think Rhodes is definitely going down that road.
Real shame, because he's supremely talented. He has a lot of charisma. It's just not going to work. But so we'll move on from that. We got a few more things here on Wrestling Warm-Up here on WrestlingRumors.net. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at WrestleRumors. Doug O'Mac, not here tonight because he's at Raw in Greenville. Guys, you have to check out Wrestling Rumors Radio. We get it every day here on WrestlingRumors.net. Silly little podcast where you get our thoughts. And, hey, you got to check it out. And I know we got some awesome content coming up this summer, including something huge, but we can't tell you about it just yet. Sorry. But anywho, tease. Let's keep going on here in the mid-card. Cesaro, Rob Van Dam, guys. Looks like this is going to be a singles match at Payback. their triple threat match at Extreme Rules wasn't all that great. What can Cesaro get out of this by beating Rob Van Dam in theory here?
You solidify him as a heel.
He's got to really brutalize Van Dam, though. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a no DQ match, considering where they were leading last week. But he really has to brutalize him to sort of heel back into him, because people are still seeing him as a tweener too much.
Doug mentioned it last week, and I can't help but agree. Rob Van Dam, he's great and all, but they just have not booked him as a legitimate competitor at all in his run in WWE. When was the last time he won a big match?
He's living off of Rob Van Dam is living off of a reputation he built for himself years and years and years ago, and I think at this point in his career, he's nothing more than an enhancement talent. Perhaps if the World Heavyweight Championship was still in existence, he could find himself in that territory, but now against someone like Cesaro, this is just buying time for Cesaro until, there's talks about him facing Lesnar at SummerSlam. I think you just need to keep putting guys in his way that he can continue to go over, guys that are over with the WWE Universe. And this is all about making Cesaro look like $1 million and nothing more than that.
Yeah.
I know you just talked about Cesaro a second ago, but what about Heyman carrying that Money in the Bank briefcase?
Oh, God, it would be
awesome
gold.
would that be?
Gold.
I actually have this hilarious idea of Heyman constantly teasing opening the briefcase, and like with Deal or No Deal, it says, "My client Brock Lesnar beat the Undertaker for the streak."
I'll tell you what, you're going to keep hearing that until Lesnar actually makes his return to television, so get ready for the next 4 months to hear that.
I just hate it.
Yeah, it's like I got the Beast and I got the future WWE champion right here. Okay, he's the favorite to win Money in the Bank, no doubt.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I threw out Rhodes there just before because, you have to give yourself a few other names. But, Cesaro's hands-on your favorite, and that's why he has to go over Rob Van Dam. I'll tell you what, we mentioned Sheamus before. I'd love to see an RVD-Sheamus feud down the line for the U.S. title because there'd be some believability there where RVD could actually walk away with that title. So I could get down with that. Let's move on. One more mid-card thing here before we get to the Evolution and Shield storyline to wrap up. Big E and Bad News Barrett, it looks like they'll continue going, even though Big E actually lost his rematch last week. It looks like this feud will continue. Big E, we heard this week, may be in the future involved in a big program with John Cena. We know that John Cena loves Big E. They train together. They work out together. And Big E, I know Doug's not a huge fan. I like Big E a lot. I think he's extremely talented. I think they just booked him really crappily towards the end of his IC title run. Do you guys think that there would be benefit here for Big E to feud with John Cena down the line?
Hell yes.
I would only want to see it if he got repackaged.
Well, you would imagine he'd have to go off TV for a period of time and come back as a heel, or he'd have to have a massive heel turn. Problem is, you say yes immediately because you think, oh, okay, working with Cena, that's a huge rub. Not a whole lot of likelihood that he'd be going over Cena. Let's be real here.
I think Cena would put him over.
You think that Big E, by the end of that feud, you think Big E would be the winner of that feud?
I think that Cena really does care about the business enough.
I think he does. Go ahead, Ed.
I think that Cena cares about the business enough that he really does want to see some legitimate talent. And you look at you did mention the ICT run at the end. I look back further to the sort of work that Big E was doing, Mike-wise, as a heel, as Ziggler's soundbox, and I think it was some fantastic work just to basically chide his opponents. So I think if you repackage Big E with that sort of character, there's a lot to be made out of that. You're seeing the kind of dynamics that Bray's going through right now to get into Cena. You go completely the other side with Big E with more of a sarcastic fashion. You have a great character that you can see going over a guy like Cena, and we've all seen how well accomplished Big E is as a physical wrestler.
I think I'm making a stretch here, but I kind of see a little bit of a comparison with the whole Ryback and Cena feud. I mean,
no.
It seems like a stretch, but Ryback was huge, and I don't know. I don't think.
But you see the balance between personality and strength there with Big E more than you do with Ryback.
Here's the thing, and this is not a knock on John Cena at all, because I think John Cena's great, and I think John Cena gets it, and I think John Cena would love to put Big E over. But if you put Big E as a heel over John Cena in a feud, you run a risk there of damaging Cena and his outlook at that point, because, and then I believe Cena's still going to reign supreme on everything, no doubt about that, but at the same time, I mean, what does that say? Oh, I can't beat a guy who, you know, was Intercontinental Champion and kind of had a lackluster run, and now he just came back as a monster heel. To me, something just doesn't match up there. And maybe that's just me.
By that logic, though.
Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, by that logic, though, you're still using the same logic with Cesaro, that he only had really a U.S. title run. And I understand that there's
but there's a slow build on Cesaro's credibility right now.
That's true. I mean, I wouldn't look at Big E and Cena until maybe TLC, maybe Royal Rumble. I mean, it could be by the end of the year into next year, but I would see Cena getting a big face push before then, and then there's Big E coming up as the heel to sort of knock him off balance.
I think the thing with John Cena and the belief backstage is that management believes that if we book you in a feud with John Cena, that's enough of a rub right then and there for you to be taken a little bit more seriously. And the problem is that that's only worked basically half the time. It's going really well with the Wyatts, because Bray did get his victory at Extreme Rules, and you know, even in losing efforts to Cena, Cesaro ended up looking great as well. But look at guys like, you know, Dolph Ziggler had his little feud with John Cena, and he didn't really gain much of a rub after that. And the ultimate example, Damien Sandow. We thought that was going to be a feud there as well.
I would disagree with you on Ziggler. Ziggler won a huge match at TLC, and the crowd bought into him. And from January, when he entered that Royal Rumble, when the crowd was apeshit for him, from January through when he cashed in, he was one of the hottest commodities.
I'm talking more so about months afterwards. I mean, when Ziggler had his feud with Cena,
there's some
his concussion really derailed things more so than Cena. Now Sandow is definitely
Sandow's the ultimate example
actually with Ziggler.
I mean, couldn't you just give it the half rub and put him half over? If he came back, and I know Doug always talks about, he has his gimmick in his theme song. 3 ain't enough, I need 5.
Well, hey, it could happen eventually.
And if he were to go into a match with Cena, and let's say it's a normal 3-match thing, the first match he goes over with the 5.
It could happen. Happen.
The second match Cena goes over, and then in the third match he doesn't get the 5, but he gets the 3.
All I know is I don't want to see 5 matches between Big E and John Cena, but we got to keep moving on, guys. We got about 13 more minutes left here on Wrestling Warm Up here on WrestlingRumors.net. Don't forget, you can check out WrestlingRumors.net for the latest news, opinions, editorials, everything on the face of the planet. It's basically Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, except with turnbuckles and sweat and less calories. Right. Guys, Evolution, The Shield. Evolution leaves The Shield laying out last week. SmackDown, Roman Reigns is the only one who picked up a win out of the 3 of them. We heard reports last week that the thought right now for Payback is 3 singles matches, and if that's the case, maybe now's the time that we see Roman Reigns versus Triple H, because we heard recently that they're going to give up on splitting up the Shield for now, and maybe this is when you see your big Triple H Roman Reigns match. Or do you guys think we see another 3-on-3?
3-on-3.
3-on-3.
I wouldn't mind 3-on-3.
I think singles matches, I really do think that Roman Reigns versus Triple H is at SummerSlam. I think if we do get a series of 3 matches, I think we get Rollins and Orton, we get Batista and Reigns, and then based off of, Hunter booking Ambrose in that Battle Royal, which was considered unfair, you can get somewhat of a story out of Ambrose versus Triple H.
But how do you stretch that? It is 2 more pay-per-views.
It's 3 more pay-per-views.
3 more pay-per-views for Triple H and Reigns.
You have the Shield and Evolution take place in some sort of gimmick match at Battleground, and then you have all 3 members of the Shield and Money in the Bank.
Did I miss a pay-per-view there?
There's Battleground is after Payback.
Payback. What are we doing for Payback?
We have the 3 singles matches.
I mean, you do the 3 singles matches. Some of you think 3-on-3. I mean, I don't see how you do a 3-on-3 here and make it interesting again, because we saw what was just an absolutely brutal match between them at Extreme Rules, and it really can't get more insane than that.
That's true.
Unless you just go false count anywhere.
Yeah.
What about a 2-on-2? What about a 2-on-2 cage match? And then
Well, there won't
Reigns
be a cage match for the
Yeah,
Second Sway
I don't think it would be a cage, but I mean, you're saying do a 2-on-2 and then have a singles match?
maybe.
Maybe a Texas Tornado.
Yeah, I mean that you'll never see a Texas Tornado again. But as much as I think some matches should be Texas Tornado, I don't think you're going to see that anytime soon. I could get down with a tag match and then a singles match. And I'll tell you what, if you really wanted to save it, you'd put Triple H in the tag match.
I mean, here's my problem with the idea of doing 3 singles matches. The entire time I've been seeing promo work between these guys, it's been in groups. So how do you rationalize the idea that we're going to break this up into 3 different matches? The way you're doing the promo work, it just doesn't have that much cohesion.
Maybe
you don't really see it that much.
I mean, Walter suggested
really
to have Ambrose and Triple H. Maybe have Ambrose come out and I'd be like, "Listen, I got a problem with all of you, but it's not fair what you did to me in the title."
There you go.
Something to work with.
What if you did at Payback a Survivor Series style elimination tag team match?
That's more Survivor Series. Save that for Survivor Series.
When I don't know the pay-per-view schedule, but that's after.
You could get around with that and maybe Battleground.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not more for Battleground.
And when we talk about these singles matches, like, I mean, Roman Reigns is going to be the one who benefits the most from all this, but let's not, like, discount Seth Rollins and Dean.
Not at all.
When
Not at
that
all.
happens, they're going to be, like, down in the crap.
I, for one, actually think over the last month and a half, Seth Rollins has done the best work out of anyone.
He's been the MVP of the Shield, yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I very much think that. I think Seth Rollins has been phenomenal lately, and I really hope when all's said and done with the Shield that all 3 of these men get high mid-card to main event treatment. I really hope they all do, and I hope that none of them, particularly Rollins or Ambrose, falls into the oblivion. And I think WWE would be smarter than that to let that happen. But
I just think that it is inevitable for at least one of them to basically just fall very far. It's too many personalities right now between the 3 of them to really push, especially now with one title, that you really can get consistent positive booking for the 3 of them after the split happens.
So who gets the upper hand tonight, guys? The Shield or Evolution?
Shield.
Shield.
Shield, I would agree with
Evolution.
that. So you say Evolution. Why do you say Evolution?
I think that there's too much. I think that there's honestly too much time now between this and Payback. I could see also too the idea that Evolution singles out at least 1 or 2 of the members of the Shield and possibly backstage attacks.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I want Evolution to get the upper hand heading into the pay-per-view for sure. I think that would be a good thing for them to go into it with, because they can walk out of it with it as well. Guys, we have just a few more minutes left. I want to get some bold predictions from y'all for tonight's Raw from Greenville, South Carolina, right before they head out to England. Usually those English tours are fun to watch, but you never know what you're going to get out of them. So what's going on with this go-home before going overseas? Let's start with Willie. Give me a bold prediction.
I think that they're going to decide the Kane Daniel Bryan gimmick tonight. I hope they will, at least. Whatever it may be.
So you think we're going to get the gimmick announcement tonight?
I hope so, yeah.
And I want to get it definitive from you. What would you have it be?
It's hard to see the whole buried alive thing actually go through, but that would be pretty awesome.
Okay. Warhood.
I don't have high hopes for this Raw, but
Me either.
my bold prediction, as much as I don't think this is a bold prediction, you will not see Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan interact tonight.
Okay, hey, that's a bold prediction. I'll listen to that. I'll take that one. Jazz.
Bold prediction: Reigns loses, and whatever
Reigns
match
loses.
he's in.
Cleanly?
Not cleanly, but he loses.
Okay, I like that. Ed.
Hashtag the bold prediction. I'll take Mark Henry putting over Rusev tonight.
Okay, I really dig that. For those of you who didn't see, Mark Henry put over Roman Reigns on SmackDown, which was interesting that they went face versus face. But he did put him over, and I'll tell you what, I'd love to see some more heel Mark Henry down the line, but I could totally see him putting over Rusev. Doug jokes about this all the time, so I'm going to put this on Doug here. But Vince McMahon, he likes going from big black guys to big black guys with feuding. And hey, maybe Mark Henry's the next step. We got Xavier Woods and R-Truth before that. Maybe he goes.
Calling Xavier Woods and R-Truth big.
One's got big hair.
I mean, I'll tell you what, they could kick my ass.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Hey, I like R-Truth's work. I like Xavier Woods' work, but against Rusev, well, yeah.
You just want to get rowdy.
That's right, K-Quick, baby. K-Quick's in the house. We're getting rowdy tonight. Walder.
It's hard to come up with some really bold predictions for a Raw that I'm really not looking forward to. I think it's just going to be a lot of filler tonight. I'm going to just play it safe, and I'm going to agree with Willie. I think Buried Alive for Payback does get booked tonight, and as like a little softer prediction, I think tonight is the last night we see a Bo Dallas vignette. I think he debuts next week on Raw.
Next week on Raw. What do you have Bo Dallas doing?
I think you just have him come out and you cut a promo, like with all of his self-help stuff. I think he's going to be able to draw heat really well. And next week is in England, right?
It is.
I think England is more. I think England, the smart fans in England are more familiar with the stuff he's been doing in NXT. I think he'll draw insane heat next week, and I call it right now. He'll be on Raw.
Go ahead, Ed.
Can I just put out an idea I thought about 10 minutes ago? I didn't want to suggest it. We talked about evolution and the growth of younger talent, and I was thinking about Orton. And even though he doesn't have the generational appeal, what would you think about the idea of Bo Dallas being the young member of Evolution, believe in Evolution?
No,
His character doesn't fit with Evolution.
It's crazy, but I was just going to put it out there.
Guys, he's going to get his own gimmick. They're pushing his own gimmick. At least
His character doesn't fit.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be like Seven debuting in WCW where he comes in, drops down, and then all of a sudden is like, screw this, I'm Dustin. It's not going to happen. And Bo Dallas is just going to be like, you know what? I actually can talk like a normal human being and not like someone who's asking a question every minute. Okay?
You know what? I would love for him to kind of pull what Bad News Bear did for a bit. I think he should just come out and start interrupting matches and start preaching to the WWE Universe about how they have to start believing in themselves. I don't want him to wrestle at all for at least a month. I think that's a great way for him to draw heat.
I want backstage vignettes with Bo Dallas. I think that's where you start with him before you put him out in front of a crowd. I think you have him come out, someone just lost a match. Hey now, don't feel bad.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I don't know.
You gotta believe.
So I don't know what actually happened, but I just got a Twitter update from, let me get the right one, Wrestling News Co. that something happened backstage, or not backstage, but apparently there were major changes made to the Raw script in relation to Daniel Bryan.
Well, we'll get on that. We'll get on that as that comes across.
I don't know. They haven't always been the most reliable source for me.
I mean, you guys know that there's really only one place where you can get all your latest news and opinions and rumors,
and
apps, games, drinking games.
Oh, drinking.
Stephanie McMahon door knocking sounds.
That's right, and that's WrestlingRumors.net. Don't forget, check out the Rumor Crew. Check out WrestlingRumors.net every single day, guys. Can't tell you the content. It's great, man. You see, you'll get the other sites. I won't call them out by name, but you get the other sites that are like, this is what's happening. Well, guess what? We're going to tell you what's happening. We're going to tell you why it's happening. We're going to tell you how it happened, and we're going to tell you if it happened in the past, too. So that's where you're going to find out all the information. Final words from the crew, guys. Let's start with Willie.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to plug my site. I just got a brand new wrestling site. It's none of the recycled garbage. It's all opinions and ideas.
Cool.
It's still in the works. WrestlingFaction.com. And my thing about the tweet you just got, whoever got that, Warhead, I think, I don't think Daniel Bryan would. I have hesitations about the buried alive thing. I don't think he really wants to do something like that. That's just what's on my mind.
Well, we'll see where that goes, but check out WrestlingFaction.com. Warhood, what do you got for us today?
You guys are the best.
Oh, you're too
great.
kind.
I'm too kind, I know. I'm trying not to troll as much on the show. I don't know.
Yes, it's appreciated.
If it's that serious. So follow me, please, on Twitter. I would like to get 60 followers at some point in my life.
Jazz.
Yeah, follow me at Twitter at official Y2Jazz.
Y2 Jazz. Ed.
I'm looking at a picture right now of Zeb Coulter's head with lemon on it. I don't know why. All right, so
Don't be a lemon, baby.
So follow me at JBL's Dragon, JBLS Dragon, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy that this show had no 5-second delay on my mic.
That's right. It didn't. I'll tell you why in a second. But Chris.
This is for Jasmine, by the way. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
Damn right.
That's right. You can follow him at Walder Sports. Guys, here's the deal. Ed, you want to know why there was no delay? Because there was no Doug O'Mac. See, I'm taking over, baby. See, I'm bringing myself onto the ship. Now, Doug, I know you're listening out there, okay? I know that you're supposedly in Greenville, South Carolina, not that anyone there is actually invested in the wrestling product. See, here's the deal, Doug. I'm taking over the Rumor Crew one show at a time, my friend. And if you want to meet me, you know where to find me on WrestlingRumors.net and on Twitter at JohnAlbaSFC. Pipe bomb. We'll see y'all later. Take care, guys.